How you doing? My name is Steve Dove, and I'm sitting here with Miss Kenya.
Hey, Mr. Dove, how are you?
How you doing? She's gonna have a conversation with me today, counseling session, related to substance use. And tell me about yourself, Miss Kenya, and your substance use history.
Oh boy, it's so much. I've been using for, I would say, 29, almost 30 years, and I used to refer to myself as a functional addict because I've always still been able to obtain a normal lifestyle as far as working and, still taking care of my family and still holding on to things, material things. So my using didn't really hurt anybody until at the end. I learned that functional addict, it just wasn't no such thing. Because at the end, I hurted myself. And I was at my rock bottom. I know everybody rock bottom is different, but at the end, I found my rock bottom. So that's when I decided to stop using. So it's been a long journey, and it hasn't all been bad, But yeah.
So it sounds like you realized that there was some struggles with your substance use. What was your drug of choice?
My drug of choice, I had two drug of choices. What they call dually addicted.
Dual addiction,
cocaine and heroin. Heroin first and cocaine second.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me ask you, what would a regular day without substance use or a regular day without cocaine and heroin, what would you consider a regular day, and what would that look like for you?
Without?
Yes.
Now or when I was in active addiction? Oh, okay.
When you were using.
Okay, well, when I was using, I never was an everyday user. It started out recreational, for one thing. On weekends, sometimes, maybe once a month, maybe once every few months, so, it wasn't always an everyday thing. But then as the years progress, your habit gets more regular and it starts turning into a habit, then it becomes, every day. But a day without using, for me, is just a normal day. Because it wasn't always a habit for me. It was like getting up, going to work. I didn't always have to have drugs to go to work until it turned into a habit. Because it was recreational at first. We did it for fun. But once it becomes a habit, you can't get up and you can't go to work and you can't function without it.
So as long as you saw yourself as functioning, maintaining your stability, your employment is everything, you didn't see it as a problem. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, that's exactly. And people couldn't tell by looking at me, by, just definitely not looking at me, because I always had to look good. That was just a part of my personality. So you did not know that I was using really unless we indulged together. Because, I was normal pretty much. But once it became a habit and it got bad off at the end, you could tell. My family could tell because they knew me. They was around me all the time. So they knew me. But if you weren't a part of my immediate family, you didn't know. Unless I indulged with you.
And you said this went on for 20-some years?
Yes, this went on when I got out the military. I came home. It's funny because when I left, we were just, smoking marijuana and stuff like that. Normal stuff that you did. When I came home, all my friends gave me a coming home party. And at the party was new drugs, heroin and cocaine. And it was like what the society had, graduated to. So that's how I got introduced to heroin and cocaine at my coming home party from the military.
Coming home from the military. So it sounds like you got started late in life. You were already, what, 20s, 30s?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Going on 30.
Going on 30?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Late starter. Okay. How would you say your substance use affected your relationship with your family, if at all?
Well, it didn't really affect my relationship with my family until later on, you know, because I still was able to maintain, you know. I always tried, like, work and stuff, and as long as I, you know, was able to pay my bills and take care of my kids and all of that, it wasn't a problem. Then once it became, you know, a habit at the end, that's when, you know, don't nothing get paid till you straight, you know. So it didn't become, and then my family was my enablers also. So what I didn't do, they did. And that made it worse. Because I never had to, like, suffer or hurt. If I didn't do it, my husband did it. Or my mother did it, you know. So, yeah, they was my worst enablers, I believe. Maybe if they hadn't enabled me, it wouldn't have went, you know, as long as it did. So, yeah, your family can be your worst enablers.
And when you say it became a problem in the end, was there a period of time where you sought treatment? At
Yes.
what point did you realize that this was a problem that had to be addressed by other means than just?
At the end, when it got to the point where I couldn't go to work, without using. That was a problem. When it came to the point where I wanted to do drugs before taking care of, you know, my responsibilities, that was a problem. When it came to the point where I wanted to do drugs before doing the things that I had to do for my kids and stuff like that, that was a problem to me. I knew that I had a problem. And then the times when I would just wake up one day and say, I ain't going back to work. Hell with that job. You know? And I had some good jobs that I just woke up. I would just wake up and say, I ain't going back to work. I'm talking about good jobs, state jobs, city jobs, you know. So that's when I knew it was becoming a problem, you know. So, yeah.
And what did that episode of treatment look like for you?
I decided to quit my job, leave home, go in treatment. I was supposed to be going for 30 days. But then I told my husband I needed more time. So he was like, you know, and my kids were older. They were teenagers by the time, you know, my youngest kids were teenagers. My older kids, they were grown in their 30s. But my younger kids, they were teenagers. So they was able to take care of themselves, you know. And my husband was like, go take as much time as you needed. So I stayed for 6 months before I came home. I resigned from my job. They just wanted me to take a leave of absence and was like, just come back, you know, whenever I was ready, I could come back, because they didn't even know. They didn't know. And I fessed up to somebody at work, I think my supervisor. And she was like, you know, take as long as I need, because she didn't even know that I was still able to come to work. Long as I had my drugs in the morning or whatever, I could still come to work and function at work all day long. She didn't know that I was using on the job, you know, all day long, going to cop while I was at work, all of those type of things. She never had a clue. So, but I knew sooner or later, you know, you always, something is going to happen. So I was able to go ahead and arrest my situation and go in treatment before something happened, you know.
It sounds like you always had a sense of awareness eventually consequences from your
Yes.
actions.
Yes. Because I've had some situations doing, over my using. I've had some situations, it ain't always been peaches and creams, but I've been arrested. Things have happened. If you are addict, things happen. Things happen. I've been arrested a few times. A few things have happened. So.
So how would you say your relationship with your family is today?
Oh, now it's wonderful. All they ever wanted to see me do is be clean. Especially, I would say it affected most my oldest daughter because she was the only child for 14 years, and I took her everywhere with me when I was using. Wherever I went, she was with me. So she saw a lot, Whereas though my older kids, I didn't have to drag them with me. My husband was there. I could always leave, them with him or leave them at home. But, my oldest daughter, where I went, she went. So if I had to go cop, she was going with me. You know what I mean? So she saw a lot, So all she ever, even though I took care of her, but she saw a lot of things that, maybe she shouldn't have seen. So all she ever wanted was for me to be clean. And, I think it was the world to her when I got clean. The youngest ones, they were happy. I mean, they knew too, but they just it didn't affect them as much as it affected her, I think.
And how many kids do you have?
I have 3, and I raised my stepson, so 4. I raised my stepson since he was 10. So 4, I say 4. 3, including him. Yeah, 4.
What are some of your goals for the future now? So before you answer that, you've I think you 7, 8 years clean now.
Yep.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
It'll be 8 in September. I'm trying to figure that out now. I'm trying to figure out if I really want to further my education. And if not, then I'm trying to figure that out now. I don't know. I'm really thinking about it at this time. I know I want to do more than what I'm doing now. The job that I'm doing now is in substance abuse. I love it. But I think I want to do more. So it's more out there for me.
It sounds like, back to your daughters, it sounds like even though she was exposed to a lot, you were always present. Like you had a strong relationship with her.
She was my best friend too, I would say. And still is. Yes, I mean, all she ever wanted was for me to be clean. So I think she was the happiest. But yeah, and of course my mom too. My mom was one of my biggest enablers too. I always had a vehicle anyway, but the times that I didn't have a vehicle, I could drive hers at any time. She was a big enabler, not even realizing that she was an enabler. She was.
And what did your social circle look like then?
When I was using?
When you were using. I know you said they gave you a party when you came home from the military. Was those longtime friends?
They were longtime friends. People that I've been friends with, for years, since I was like young kids to teenagers. And then it was like, when I came home, it was like the crack era had took over. When I left, it was like the heroin had came into play. But like when I came home, it was the heroin ran the crack together, excuse me. And it was like everybody was doing either one or the other, or both. So, my social circle was like mostly people I grew up with and people that I worked with. You know, I was had a government job with the state, and my whole office, our circle, was you know, we used together. You know, we would go cop at lunchtime, you know, come back, or, you know, somewhere during that day, you know, and then we would have, you know, parties at each other's houses and stuff. So it was like the social thing to do, you know what I'm saying? Until that socialness became a habit.
Right.
So
you looked at it more through a recreational lens, not as like really having a substance use disorder, not really identifying with there's
but then
addiction.
you know, after a period of time, it becomes an addiction, and that's when it affects everybody in different ways. Some are stronger than others. You know, I was able to cover mine up for a long time. And a lot of, and my co-workers too, you know, like I said, we worked for the state, we made good money, we was able to, you know, mask it, you know, dress it up, and then, you know, able to maintain our bills and use at the same time. It wasn't a problem at first, but you all know over a period of time, it becomes a problem. It affects everybody differently.
Totally understand. What would you say are some of the benefits of treatment? I mean, some of the benefits that stood out to you the most, that still stick with you to this day?
When I was at treatment, it seemed like I was always like the leader of.
I can see that.
I was always like the leader of our groups. You know, I was always able to, you know, like a good speaker. I was always able to get people to talk about, you know, you got to talk about what's going on with you, know,
Right,
and bring.
right.
And I was always able to, you know, my counselors and stuff, and they had saw it in me and had encouraged me to, like, you should be a peer, or you should be a counselor. You good at that, you know. They picked it out. They saw it in me before I saw it in myself.
Right.
All I was doing was just being me, and I knew that when I was in group, I loved going to group because I wanted to talk about what was going on with me. You know what I mean? I wanted to talk about why for all these years I was still, you know, using and trying to figure out what the root cause of it was, you know. So I had a lot that I wanted to talk about. So I was always talking and always trying to get other people to talk too. So they was like, you should be, you know, either a counselor or you should be a peer. I never knew what a peer was, you know. Yeah, so they like brought it to my attention, and then I started doing the classes, and you know, I always just been like a people person, you know. Just always like talking and being around people, and I was just really just being myself. So
Seems like you had a lot of questions. You was looking for a lot of answers. At any time in active addiction, did it ever affect your mental health?
to me, I don't think that I have any mental issues, I never was on any medication for mental health. I was never diagnosed as having mental health issues. But it seemed like everybody that was in treatment was on some type of medication for mental health. And not saying that I'm better than anybody else or nothing like that, or trying to cast myself out. I just never was diagnosed as having any mental health issues, but who knows? I could have been misdiagnosed. I don't know. But you know, my husband always say that, yeah, he be trying to say it in a joking way, but sometimes I really do think he believe that. yeah, you got mental health issues. They just missed it, or they just didn't diagnose you, or whatever. But I've never been diagnosed, and like I said, not that I cast myself out or think that I was better than anybody else, but I just never was diagnosed.
Okay.
With mental health.
And your husband, he's been with you through your whole process? Now, just from that perspective, would you consider that a plus, or?
It's a plus because when I met him, I was at a bad point. I was like kind of at a low point when I met him. And my husband was like a recreational user at that time. And then, and he made good money, so he was able to take care of our habits and our bills and whatever it was that we needed. And every time that I was down or low, he always could pull me back. He always had my back and was able, so he was like an enabler too. Put it like that. He was an enabler too. And then he got clean like 10 years before me. And I was still using on and off, and he was never the type that was like, because I've seen that type too in some of my friends, that just because he got clean, you got to get clean, he let me go ahead and do my process.
Until you were actually motivated on your own.
Yes, and it took like 10 years after him.
Okay.
Then he had surgery and end up relapsing after 10 years because of surgery. So then once I got clean, like a year, I would say, after I got clean, then he finally got himself back together. So, yeah, it's been some ups and downs. But
how would you describe your support network these days?
My support network is, of course, my family. First of all, my family, they there, thick and thin, they there. And also coming to work every day, talking to our patients, that's a big support group for me too, because me talking to them and helping them is help for me. It kind of keeps me grounded. So to me, that's like support for me also, even though they don't realize it, but it is. And all I be doing is just talking, giving my strengths and hopes or whatever when they need it. I don't like throw it on them, but a lot of times they come and they sit in my chair like I'm a psychiatrist or something, and just talking to them, just to see like, I be like, go ahead, sit on the brown chair. And sometimes they just need somebody to talk to, so talking to them and giving them inspiration is really some of my strengths and helps me too.
Totally.
So, yeah, that's it.
Good. And I definitely enjoyed
so how you think I did, Doc? How you think I did? Because I always enjoy talking to you, and your feedback a lot really helps me. So
I think you've done wonderful. I think you've been very forthcoming. You've been very straightforward. You're always positive. We have a very strong rapport. We have good communications, and that's a good sign. You're in long-term sustained recovery. At this point, what does the next 90 days look like for you?
The next 90 days really looks like for me, I really want to focus on what I want to do in my future. So I really got some decisions to make as far as, do I want to stay here at this job? Do I want to further my education? I'm really trying to make a decision as to what I want to do in my future. Because, I'm not getting no younger. So, I need to make some decisions on what I want to do. I'm undecided.
It sounds like you want to reinvest in your stability, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, most definitely. Yes.
Well, that's good. What particularly are you interested in going back to school for?
If I do, it would be something in substance abuse.
Okay.
If I go back to school, that's what it would be.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just not sure if I want to do that. If I want to go back work for the state. I was a correctional officer at one time. My husband like absolutely not. So I'm just like trying to see what my options are and make a decision on what I want to do.
Well, that's good. That's good. And I'm quite sure you'll find something. And you know, so from talking to you, you know, from coming out the Marines or coming out the
Army,
service,
Army.
and just having those experiences and those experiences leading to what they led to, and you know, you maintaining a relationship with your family after, you know, having your daughter exposed to that. How's your relationship with your sons?
Wonderful. You know, my son going to the military. The other one is out. My stepson, he's, you know, we had to push him out, you know, because he was out on his own and then came back home. So we had to push him out again, you know, because he was home, getting comfortable. So we, you know, he's back out on his own. He doing all right now. So.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I definitely enjoyed our session today.
Yes,
I
thank you very
for
much.
coming. No, thank you very much.
No problem.
Any questions, comments, or concerns?
No. You know, I always enjoy our sessions, and I always like your feedback. And you know, anytime you see me slipping or whatever, just pull me in, reel me in, and be like, you know, look, I think you could do this, or any critiques, or you know, because I could take what they call constructive criticism.
There you go.
You know, I can handle that. You know.
You handle it very well.
So yeah.
Okay.
So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your guidance, everything.
And thank you for coming in.
All right.